Hi, everybody. So, Mr. Fat here. Audio's a little weird for this episode, so the open's a little odd. It's going to be more of a cold open versus a preamble. Missed a little bit of, giggles that was started and planned, but I really hope that you guys enjoy this one, and I didn't want to edit it or mess with it too much because I think it's a very important episode to just kind of hear from a first-hand perspective of this individual personally. Thank you, Errol, for stopping by, and this is just them guys. So I want to talk about some of the things with high function autism. So I think the first thing I have to ask is what's the testing like for an official diagnosis from a doctor versus have you done the online like self tests before?
No, and I really can't say it because my mama was. I was talking to my mama about this.
Yeah.
And I was 3
Okay.
when I was diagnosed. I have a lot of great stories.
Mm-hmm.
As far as getting diagnosed, I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Fair enough.
The reason I was diagnosed with autism is I needed help sleeping, and the only way I could get a prescription of a sleeping medication and stuff like that was through getting.
Just talk a little louder.
Oh, it was through getting a diagnosis of autism.
Mm-hmm.
So the diagnosis of autism was literally just to help me sleep.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a newborn, my mom put me to bed with War Pigs by Black Sabbath. That is literally how she got me to sleep. Was that song?
Interesting.
That weird, but that's how she did it. But once I started getting older, it just wasn't working anymore.
So, have you been and talked to a doctor? You know, like you've been in and out of the doctor's office a lot over the past year.
Yeah.
What?
I just remember IEPs.
IEPs. What are those?
Those are whenever. It's IEP stands for individualized education program. I think is what it means. Let me Google that real quick.
Okay.
Just so I can be correct here. And essentially, what it was is a plan to help me understand and learn better.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly it was because whenever I was younger, I had texture issues, and I would like grippers on my pencils, the rubber things you put on them.
Yeah.
Text to write with. They don't do IEPs anymore. They don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm curious as to. Oh,
I was right.
Individualized educational plan. Okay. So I'm curious to see what as you're going through school, right? So obviously you don't remember you're being diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
As you're going through school, was there any obvious signs that?
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
For example, what?
So, just as the big one that still affects me even at 21 years old is they taught me to spell how it sounds. So even because
which they taught me this. They taught me the same thing in school. I think that's common.
But there's no. It wasn't just sounding it out.
Okay.
It was literally how you think it sounds. Spell it. That's how they taught me. So it wasn't like when you sit down and read a book. It wasn't like. It wasn't that. It was literally how you think it sounds. Spell it out.
Okay. Why?
I don't know. Maybe just because it's how I learned. Maybe it's just because they were tired of dealing
with
it.
And that was part of the IEPs?
No. That was just how they taught me. I think it was a combination of teachers just being tired of me. I don't know why that's what they did, but they did.
So what about like okay, for example, like I'm pretty close friends with you. We met via work, right?
Yeah.
And like I'd say we're very similar socially.
Yeah.
I really would. I don't think that we're very different socially. I'm just a little bit more forward socially, and I think that's a lot to do with like my past and background.
Yeah.
And then some of the things that are in my head.
You're more polite with people and less blunt than I am.
I think I have a way to talk to people.
I'm very cut and dry, and I don't care about your feelings.
And I don't either, but I have a way of like putting it where it's like, oh. How?
Very much more polite.
Yeah.
I really just don't.
Just kind of fuck you. Which I mean that comes from the lack. I mean, of emotional concepts. So, like, social settings and social situations. Like, I do notice you are a little bit, odd in that case. And most.
Yeah, I'm a weirdo.
Yeah, but what as through childhood, were you always the odd man out?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. So when I was a baby, even when I was like not like an infant, but like 2, 3, my
mhm.
mama, she it's a great story. My mom bought me, the boards with all the locks on it for engagement,
Yeah,
to motor skills and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I took that board and looked at the lock on the door and figured out how to unlock the door with the board. And it got to the point where my grandpa put a lock that as you unlock this one, it locks the other one. That was the only way they could keep me inside.
Jesus.
And it was just because I figured it out. This is part of the reason I'm doing mechanics, is because it just makes sense. I look at it and it just makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. Because that's the same reason that I did automotive.
It just makes, I can
I
take
look
it
at
apart
things.
in my head and it just
Yeah,
makes sense.
but especially once I take something apart, like it all makes sense in my head. So,
And even dating has been a challenge.
in what way though?
So
Is it because like for example, I struggle really I think it's up until this day. And I still have my moments where like me and the wife, she's kind of like, "Hey, you need to be more emotionally accepting. I need you to support me right now and not give me a way to fix it. That's not what I'm asking you for."
I okay. There's a few ways to answer to get this. In dating, I am very different than a normal person in terms of I don't like. It's not that
Yeah.
I don't care about you. It's just that
This
I'm
isn't
doing
this
something and this isn't in my
does
brain right
yeah,
now.
this doesn't register on the emotional spectrum for me right now.
Exactly.
I
I,
need you to wait.
I have literally said to my girlfriend, "Do you need me to solve the problem you're having, or do you need me just to listen and hug you? What do you
I've
need
asked
right
that
now?
exact
What do
same
you need me
question.
to do?"
I have
Because I go to instantly to fix the problem, and every man does that, but there's a different level to it.
Yeah, and I think there is because I think every man does it to the extent that's why they're going to like hug and like, "Oh baby, it's okay,"
Exactly.
and rub their back. But it's like, okay, for me, it's like,
Why are you mad at this?
what about this is making you upset in this manner, and how can I make you not
How
upset?
can I put the puzzle pieces together to make it stop?
Yeah, how do I make this stop? It's not that I don't
yeah,
want you to have feelings. Like that's something, a conversation me and my wife has sometimes. She's like, I feel like I can't necessarily have feelings around you because when I have feelings, you become so intense on fixing those feelings
Exactly.
that it becomes almost an argument that I have an emotion.
And to kind of put it to a recent story, and my girlfriend listens to the podcast. I love her.
Yeah, yeah.
I love her to death.
My
really
wife, obviously, my wife knows everything that I say. These walls are made of nothing.
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to build a future with her, and something that I've told her I need to work on is being emotional. Just
Yeah.
recently, I went on a rant about something, and even if I hadn't have been able to call her and sit down with her at dinner and explain what I was thinking, the
Mhm.
relationship would have been over because I went about it all.
Mhm.
I was angry. I let my mom and dad feed me, basically pour kerosene on the fire.
Mhm.
And in reality, I shouldn't have involved my parents, and I recognize that as wrong. That was on me.
Yeah.
And when I sat down with my lovely girlfriend, she was like, "Okay, where were you coming from?" I explained it to her, and she's like, "Okay, here's where I'm coming from." And we sat down as adults and talked about it. Just because you have autism does not mean you can't be an adult.
Yeah.
And let me explain. I
Yeah.
understand before those Karens come at me. Every autism is different. I understand.
It's a spectrum.
It's a spectrum. It's not even a spectrum. It's a fucking circle.
Yeah, it's a circle.
And I understand that. For example, in my family, I have a cousin. We'll call him D. I'm not naming names, especially because he's autistic. He's barely verbal, but he's the smartest motherfucker automechanically you'll ever meet in your life.
Doesn't we? Can't. Okay.
I love him to death. I got a Chevy Cruise just recently. I sat with him. I talked about my cruise with him for hours. I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I took him in a drive in my car because he wanted to go so bad. Happiest I've ever seen him. There are different levels of autism, and I was lucky enough to be pushed by my parents to be the best that I can be. Now, full well I have sensory issues. At work, there are some times where I don't talk. I go nonverbal. I look at you and I'm like, I need a minute. We work with someone who just doesn't understand that, and he makes my life hell.
Yep.
I think he might be a good person outside of work, but he picks it at people.
See, that makes me curious to an extent about, like, I remember as a kid, and like I even remember autism is so new.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
no, it's not. Let me explain.
It's not, but I feel like
it's new on the forefront in the conversation of our mind.
Yes. When I was doing research and I come across this meme and I was like, oh my god, meme. But there is this meme and it's like autism isn't new. The allowing it to be a subject of conversation is new. Yes, Grandpa, you have a chair that nobody else is allowed to sit in, and you have a specific blanket, and you like drinks. You're not autistic. You're just different.
I always thought that was like almost dementia and shit when they got older.
No. There's a difference. No.
But also, what age is Grandpa too? Like,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
I as someone who's worked at a dementia ward, I know the difference.
So,
I can tell you the difference.
But I'm curious as to like, because so back in the day. I guess even up until like recently, and it's because it's not. I guess that's because it's not okay, even though it's really the medical terminology for the word retarded. Yeah, retarded. So, what I guess, like, because I struggled really, really hard in school for a long, long time. Right. It wasn't until then. This is going to sound horrible, but it wasn't. I couldn't do math really well. English I do great at. I'm really good at reading and writing and history and all that shit. Whatever. Math failed it. Huge pothead in school. I had a teacher in my automotive class because the autism was starting to speak, I guess.
Autism speaks, bro.
Yeah, it's assuming that I do have autism because sometimes the stars align and I don't like it. I don't like it, bro. I've done the
Why is that shit lining up?
Yeah, like
I've
done the tests, bro.
Don't do that.
And they're all like, "Hey, buddy." And I'm like, no, it's wrong. It wants you to think that. That's the government.
But it started to make sense. That just made sense to you.
Exactly, and it's like, because I won't say I'm regimented, but like, I don't like it when things are different, and I'm very particular about shit.
And there's a difference, and you don't like change, and there's a difference in your body and your mind does not like you.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a difference. It's called a minute block.
Yeah, and
For example, with my autism, I can't read an analog clock. I cannot do it. I have tried before. It was like, just try harder. I have tried for 21 years of my life. I'm 21 years old, and I cannot read an analog clock. There's a mental block that just doesn't make sense.
And this is a test that I think is common now. But you know what really fucks me up? Something that my brain really struggles to do.
What's that, okay?
If you put like toothpicks or like dots or something like that, if they are in a certain number sequence, it's hard for me to register.
Right.
Like I will you put play 4 toothpicks out in front of me, and if they're not super close for me, I mean like that's 4 of them and they're separated out. I'm like, is that 3 or 4? Fuck, that might be 5. No, that's 4. Like I struggle with that. Like
that is an autism. That's
just retardation.
No, I was gonna say Jesus Christ, bro. Good God, no. That was Jesus Christ.
What?
I just wasn't prepared for it. No, I would say that's more probably leaning toward dyslexia or some kind of
like some sort of learning disability, probably
something.
Okay,
because I don't have that problem, but then again, autism is different for everyone.
And that makes me curious. Just out of fucking, I don't have my phone. Fuck it, whatever. Like, cause like I don't know where I heard that from, but that's something that fucks my head up. Like I really can't. And that's like it's supposed to be some sort of test where you put a certain amount of something away, but
no, I got you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That shit always fucking. I guess it scares me.
Yeah.
It's scary to think that like I might have had this thing all along that would explain so many things.
It would make sense for so much things.
Yeah, but I don't want it to be like a crutch, though. You know what I mean?
That is literally something I can get into. All my life, I've always heard, well, he's just autistic. No. See, and I got angry at my girlfriend for saying that. Her someone she loves very closely has autism. And it's always, well, they have autism. I'm like, well, that's not an excuse.
That's it. Thank you.
And I don't mean it as, well,
like, yeah, you have a disability.
Right?
But...
No. Let me explain. When someone says that, especially to me, that's degrading you. Why are you? Why do you have to? Why do you have to lower yourself? And I explained that to her whenever I lost my mind.
That's a weird parallel to the black community. I'm not even going to get into that.
No. Like why do you have to lower yourself to you just have autism?
Yeah.
Because I know this person kind of closely and they are a wonderful person.
Yeah.
I love talking to them. So in my mind, why would you lower yourself?
You're bringing yourself down.
Right. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that like,
hey, I have this thing,
before
but it doesn't stop me.
Before I explain myself to my girlfriend, it sounded like I was just a prick.
Yeah.
Which I am a prick, but I'm a lovable prick.
like it's like I'm a prick, but like I don't mean to be a prick. There's a reason behind it.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm trying. I do my best to overcome that reason. You know what I mean? Like, okay, that makes sense. Like that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm a fucking afraid, dog. I've
Cut into the dark
no shit, bro. like what the fuck? Like all of my friends and like I can't even say my friends. Like a lot of my family have even talked to me like, dog, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Something that nobody really talks about either is if they're autistic and they're different. It used to be like you throw them in a mental home.
Yeah.
And that bothers me. But nowadays it's like, oh, they're autistic. It's cute. It's like, no, you don't really, and nobody understands how much of a war it is.
You fight
especially for
yourself.
parents whose kids are nonverbal.
Oh god, dude.
I if I hear someone has an autistic child and they're nonverbal, they are just kind of low functioning.
Yeah.
Bless their hearts.
Yeah, that's something
because they didn't ask for that.
That's not something you get to choose. Yeah.
And not only that, but they didn't abandon the child.
They took care of their kid.
Yeah, and I admire them for that.
And I think it's interesting because like in the like yeah.
Just like I had to sneeze.
Oh no, you're good. Right, sneeze it, bro. Sneeze right into the mic. Just put your fucking lip.
Nose on it.
Exactly. Fuck everybody's eardrums. No, and I think it's funny in like the black community, right? Like I think I can't necessarily say that I know a lot, but I'm very privy to a lot of like, oh well, that's Day-Day. He just doesn't talk.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know what I mean.
Black families
don't
as
really.
Someone
you don't say it's the truth.
It's like you don't.
Honest truth,
they don't talk about.
They
shit.
don't talk about it. It's interesting to me. Like, and I think, but at the same time, they don't treat them differently. Like
no, they just love them a little extra.
Yeah, they love them a little extra. They just
like
don't
my
really talk
cat.
about
My
it.
cat has Down syndrome.
Really?
Klinger. He's my kitty.
What the fuck?
He has Down syndrome.
I guess
Down syndrome. So that literally just said
extra.
Love him a little extra, and I was like, all right,
Okay.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Like,
huh? And that's fucked up. But it's funny to think about. That's kind of how black people treat like they're disabled relatives. They're like, it's a little extra. I mean, he cool and everything. Just he might bite you. What?
Yeah.
You might, don't take his Superman. Like,
what's really interesting about autism is the whole you don't look like you have autism. Well, yeah, no shit, because I work so hard to mask this.
Yeah,
because if I don't mask it, then I'm judged. I'm attacked. I'm called retarded.
Yeah,
stupid. Hell, people at work have called me retarded.
Exactly. Well, it's like, and I've had people tell me like, dude, you just like the way I hate to be in your brain, like the way that you process information. I've had people call me fucking retarded all my life. Family members, coworkers, jokingly or serious.
Even at work, whenever you give me a work, I'm like, Brandon, I don't understand. Yeah. It's the most simple stuff that I don't understand. But you can give me 35-step instructions one by one, like on a sheet of paper that makes sense. Or you can tell me we're changing 4 tires and you're flipping this room with this room and this room. And it just makes sense. But the simple shit goes right over my head.
And that's so interesting because it's like the way that I pick up information is like I have to go over it a couple times.
Yeah,
for it to
make sense.
Yeah, for it to make sense. But I have to do that for it to actually make sense.
For example, for that, I airsoft.
Yeah.
And my gearbox my M60 gearbox exploded, and I took apart the gun 4 or 5 times just because I was trying to figure out what was wrong with it. I figured out I can't repair it. I have to either A, get a new gearbox, or B, just HPA it. I've opted with just HPAing it or selling the shell.
Mm-hmm.
I can get about $10 for the shell. And anyway, I took it apart 5 or 6 times, and every time I took it apart, I got faster and faster with it.
Makes sense.
But it's just because I process things different. Not only that, but when I'm at work and something just isn't making sense, there's a couple of you that understand it's because I'm a little different.
Things pick up a little different.
Yeah, and so you'll say to me, it's just like the other day, whenever I was like, hey, Brandon, what tire goes in this rim? You're like, in the back of the F-150. I'm like, yeah, that's great. I have the rim. What tire am I putting on it?
Yeah. And
you're like, oh, it's a trailer tire. And I'm like, Brandon, what brand and size of tire is going on this rim?
What actual tire do I need?
And then it made sense. I'm the same way. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because you went over and we're standing and I'm like, oh yeah, it's in the back of the truck. I have it in front of me. What tire am I putting on it? Oh, you're putting a trailer tire on it.
What size?
What size? What brand of tire, Brandon? Oh, okay, yeah, I got it. So, and see, that's the shit that makes me worry, dog. Like, I don't.
Honestly, the only place that's allowed to diagnose adults is in Florida.
Really?
So you have to go to Florida.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, they're the only people that are allowed to diagnose adults with autism. It's only kids, and it's only during childhood, which would make sense. But
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me if you did. Like, I'm not saying you do.
Yeah, right. I'm not saying, bro. Like, yeah, bro, you definitely.
Whether there's like specific questions do you have?
I don't know, man. It's hard. Like, and I think. Do you think autism is super rampant in like America?
No.
Or do you think it's just a lot of people kind of latching on? I mean, like, I'm different. I like to do things a certain way, or I'm just an asshole.
Like, everybody's different, and everybody understands things different, but there's a different level to it when you can look at someone and go, oh yeah, they have autism. Like, if they say it and it makes sense, there's a difference in being weird and being Bethany, the Bethany who wants to be special and latching onto it.
I have to have Starbucks every day.
Yeah,
or
I've met more self-diagnosed autistic people who aren't, and I can just tell because I am, and people who are actually diagnosed and you wouldn't know because they. When I was a kid, I had baseball. Dude, I had names called. I was, aggressive. For example, when I was in second grade, a kid kept calling me stupid, and I looked at him, and this is no Oklahoma. I looked at him and said, if you call me stupid again, I'm going to break your nose. I'm going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And he kept doing it, and I put up with it, and I turned around, and I broke, he was 6, he was in the 6th grade, he was a bigger boy, I jumped up, and I broke his nose.
Okay.
No shit. My mom took me out for pizza because she's like, stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And in another instance, I told the kid, I was like, hey, I don't like being called Brandon, and he kept calling me Brandon, and I punched him in the sternum, sat back down and did my work.
So,
I have an insane patience, but there gets to a point when you tip me over that it all breaks loose and there's nothing you can do to stop me. You've seen it.
Yeah. So what? I guess what was it? that you can recollect and you can remember that made them pick on you? Were you failing school that you could?
No, it was just.
There was just kind of this. You
kids,
were obviously different than everybody
little
else.
Kids just being little kids.
Being fucking pieces of shit human beings, because that's what little kids really
We're just
are.
little, and we didn't know anything.
Yeah, I mean, little kids really are terrible.
I don't have any hard feelings that help me grow as a person. It's just little kids not knowing that being different is okay.
So that makes me curious, because I remember having this opinion, and it's gonna sound really archaic and conservative, like, oh, autism is bullshit, blah 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 blah, and like a few years ago. But I think it was because the way that they explained autism, they were trying. I think it's because I didn't agree that they were trying to, like, oh well, he's not retarded, he's autistic, but it would be someone who is clearly a non-functional human being. You know what I mean?
And it used to be that way with a lot of things. Is they would just make it out to be something terrible.
Yeah, horrifying that it's not. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, they used to put gays in mental asylums. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like,
yeah.
So whenever I'm more forgiving because of the time period, because they didn't know any better. And let me explain.
Yeah.
Like with racism, you have to look at it as, okay, it was a social norm. Am I saying it's good? Am I saying it's right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying at that point
That's
in time,
what was normal.
that was what was normal.
And exactly, and I think that's something
it only changed when people started to question it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, is this
really okay? Like, should we really be doing this, dog? Like, that's when things change, and I'm grateful for the change.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good, because there are people like me and there are people like Dee. I love my cousin with every fiber of my being. I would go to war. I would die for him. I'm the same way about all my friends. Just because he is different does not give you the right, just like with racism. Just because you have a different color skin doesn't give them the right to treat you like shit.
We're all human beings.
I don't care who you are. I don't care. I don't care if you're God himself. You're not going to treat him that way.
Yeah, don't treat us. Don't treat somebody like that.
And being autistic affects a lot of things. Like, for example, hyperfixations.
Mm-hmm.
I have had a burrito from the same taco truck since it showed up, and it's always the same burrito every single time, because if I eat something else, it doesn't taste good. Mac and cheese from the grocery store across the street from work, I could eat buckets of that all day, every day. and it's just because I want that same food. It doesn't. I like blankets, for example.
Yeah.
Hospital blankets, the ones with the texture on top. They're not wool. They're just textured.
I know exactly what
I
you're talking
could roll up in that all day long. I want a blanket. I need to go to a warehouse that sells that stuff and find one.
So, is that? It's interesting. So, is it all textures? Is
No.
it completely a textural thing?
It's
too?
a textural thing. I've had texture issues in the past, and even now as a 21-year-old man,
No.
I will touch something. When we went shopping, me and my papa and my mama, we were at the Walmarts, not the Walmarts, the Home Depots.
Yeah.
And we were going through the rugs. I touched the rug and it made me physically gag.
That's how I am with microfiber towels.
I can't do it.
Oh my god, dude, microfiber towels. I touch a fucking microfiber towel.
It makes you want to puke.
Oh, it makes my skin
Crawl.
raw.
Yeah.
It makes me angry. Like, it actually makes me angry.
I touched it and I gagged and I said, nope, can't
Yeah.
do that rug. I cannot physically walk on this without shoes and I vomit.
Really?
I not like literally vomit, but
But-
it made me want to throw my guts.
But that feeling, though.
I can't
I know
do it.
that feeling.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I tend to be very picky about my things. I'll get the same thing over. For example, you know how many energy drinks I get. Have you noticed me drink anything but the basic brand of everything I get?
Nope.
Have you seen me drink anything but White Monster for the past 3 weeks?
Nope.
Exactly.
So I have this question is going to get really, really personal, and it's going to
Go
get
for it, my guy.
towards the end of this episode, which I think is probably a good thing to end on.
Yeah.
It's because it's for thought.
Yeah.
Your sex life.
Mm-hmm.
I bar your girlfriend because I know that you're a good wholesome. So I'm just gonna say Christian because that's easiest to say. Your sex life, does that kind of spill over in the sense like you are about to do with yourself, right? Getting a little frisky.
Yeah.
Do you watch the same video every time when you sign on to the Pornhub?
No, I don't go to Pornhub actually, because that's banned in Utah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, say
My
sites?
little brothers watch this, listen to this.
Fair
So
enough.
I'm not gonna tell them where I go.
yeah,
I'm not gonna
exactly.
tell them what I
Whatever
do.
adult site.
I go to a place you wouldn't think of,
Uh-huh.
and I find everything I need there. But no, it's the same genre.
Okay, so I say
If I'm feeling a genre, it's
that's a
usually about
genre you watch
it's
for a
about
little
a
while.
week or so that I
Okay,
that
I do the kind of the same thing.
and I don't normally
Kind of not. It's same because it's not something I do that often.
right,
But
when
it happens,
not only that, but with my
treat
girlfriend,
yourself. You know.
right? Yeah, and sometimes I'll look at my girlfriend, I'm like, and do I do
course.
anything? No,
Yeah.
because we're
Respectful.
both LDS, and
Exactly.
and I'll
Like I-
think about it. I might tell her what I was thinking
Good,
if
like
she
I
asked
said.
me, but like
Good wholesome boy.
Some-
Good my
sometimes
brother in
she'll-
Christ.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes she'll put a T-shirt on. I'm like, that hugs all the right places. Like you know, for example, she was wearing a dress last time I went down there, and I was like, yeah,
Fair enough.
I want a piece of that. You know, I am
So
no
it seems,
different than anybody else in sex life. I'm just a little bit more. I've always been more of a recluse.
fair enough. Same.
Like for example, for you, before I would talk to you, it was like a week or two before I'd even talk to you at work.
Yeah, same. That's kind of how I am.
It was just gone. Like, I didn't have anything to do with you. Like, you didn't have anything to do with me.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing to talk about. Nothing to say.
Not to mention that you had to coax me to be on this podcast.
Yeah, also true.
You were like, "Here's some food." I was like,
Exactly. Come here. I want to talk to you. Well, so that's interesting. So, do you think that it affects kind of the more complex parts of your
Yeah.
brain,
"Yeah,
and the more ooga booga caveman part of the brain
Yeah.
is kind of like, it don't matter, bro. I like that. Like,
yeah," like
you know what I
like
mean?
very simple, basic things.
Yeah, like
sometimes
how,
it
like-
just gets me going.
Yeah, like Down syndrome guys are like the boys. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
like-
Like they just love titties. And
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Just does not matter. She can be kind of ugly, but they're like, you know,
Yeah, you got a nice set of chesticles.
nice set of tits. You know what I mean?
Chesticles.
Exactly. Good set of boulders on your chest. Okay, so that's interesting. So it does. I wonder if a lot of the isms that we suffer these days
Yeah.
are more because we're high functioning.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus anything else. Because like,
And if my girlfriend listens to this episode, I'm sorry.
yeah, I mean, you know the man loves you.
Right.
Um.
And to be fair, since I've been with my girlfriend, she asked me not to do that, and I haven't. And to God, I haven't
And
done it.
exactly, and I think that's an interesting one.
What's
Is
insane too, is I've noticed is that if you look into relationships,
Your relationship's better.
oh, dude, it is.
It's
I am the most loyal motherfucker.
Yep.
Like, I don't even look.
Yep.
Every time you've been in the shop, every time I was like, look at this girl. I'm like, I have a girlfriend. I'm good. I don't even look at them.
That same, dude. Like once you stop doing that, like I think when you're younger, especially when you're younger, you have like all
You're chasing the ride.
yeah, you're chasing that thing,
Yeah,
and you have
yeah.
all these urges and feelings, and you saw this
And
fucking
something else
emotion.
that is important is my current girlfriend is something that I'm not willing to lose. I'm not willing to
Yeah.
jeopardize over something fucking stupid.
Exactly, and I think
I-
that's respect though.
That, and it's
Yeah.
literally like, I can see this woman bearing my child, and I want to make a future with this woman.
Yeah.
I'm not
See,
going to
that-
do anything that jeopardizes.
Then that's what, and that's again, like that's respect, and it's like I think it's interesting to me. I mean, this is entirely on a different diatribe, but I mean, it still makes a good conversation.
That's cool.
The fact that men and women, like you feel better
Yeah.
about your spouse.
That and women and men and autism is completely different. It's so
Oh, yeah.
cool.
It's very
so cool.
Gender is very interesting. Like when it comes to
Girls
autism.
with autism, girls are already more emotional, so they have more emotional responses. I follow women on TikTok who are autistic just because I want to see the difference.
Yeah.
And when they stim, it's so cool. It's completely different. The only stim I do is, if you even notice this, when I'm listening to music out in the shop, I'll do this.
Mhm.
Like, I'll tap my fingers to the beat.
That's something you know what's interesting about that? I was taught to do this.
Yeah.
I was taught to do that to calm myself with
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm curious because I was always taught because it gives you, and that's all that is stimming. Because my normal thing is the leg.
Yeah, the lead thing.
My legs always move. I always have to be. If you watch me
Physically,
just
yeah.
stand,
Yeah.
I am always swaying. I'm
Rocking,
moving around.
walking.
Yeah, like I'm kind of
Yeah,
walking.
no, I completely understand that.
Yep.
And so yeah, but ever since I've been with my girlfriend, I am one of the most loyal people you will ever meet, because I know how it is to be abandoned, and B, know how it is to be the odd man out, and I'm not going to do that. And C, it's not, and I hate to say this, but a lot of people as of recently need to learn that it's not hard to be loyal to people.
It's not.
If you actually care about them, you are loyal to them.
And
you don't cheat. You don't find someone else. I don't understand the whole, oh well, you knew we were having problems thing. Like, yeah, we were, but why couldn't we go through that?
See, and that's something that
That is something that made me respect my girlfriend even more. Is like, I fucked up. She could have walked away from that relationship and it'd be completely justified. Instead, she said to me, "We are okay. We're gonna work this out. We're gonna talk about
Let's
it."
talk this out.
And that's the difference in a child relationship and an adult relationship.
Yeah.
He said to me, "Hey, I know you fucked up. I know you fucked up, and
you
you apologized.
Yeah.
And we're gonna work through this.
Yeah.
I don't want to end this."
Exactly, and I think that's something that people don't put the effort into anymore, because I think social media and the corn hub, bro, the corn has a lot to do with it. Because you get this
Porn addiction is so bad.
It's real, and I hate like people like, oh, it's not real. No, it's real.
It's
bro.
real.
Like it's real.
And not only
Like-
that, is it ruins your perspective of sex.
Yeah, it does. Or even it ruins your perspective of like what an attractive woman is, because at like I would be willing to say more than half, if not like 70 to 80% of porn stars, they have had some form of surgery.
And not only that, but they have zero self.
They have zero self
Because all they're used for is that.
Exactly.
And
You
that
have
destroys the person.
Yeah, and it just, I mean, and now like it's very interesting as we're able to look at the long term effects as this has been okay in society for the past 50 years or so. We're able to see the long term of like what being a corn star does, and having so much sex with so many people.
Yeah.
Jenna Jameson, who's a really, really famous corn star, right? Like one of like hands down probably up there with
I legitimately don't know any
It's
porn stars. I couldn't tell you.
which is good. I'm proud of you.
I couldn't tell you.
I haven't watched any of her corns, but I just don't, I just know this shit.
Right.
I mostly because of exposure to where I'm from, right?
Right.
So-
You're from freaking California.
Exactly. It's kind of hard to not be exposed to
Right,
a lot
right.
of this shit. So Jenna Jameson now is really sick, and
Yeah.
with a bunch of diseases and sicknesses that they can't really put fingers on or know what they are,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards, right? And that's because of that.
Yeah.
So it's not okay. Like it's
No, it
really
really
not.
It's really not.
It's really not okay at the end of the day. Like
It's really
we all get it. Sometimes you got to take care of yourself. We're all
Right,
human.
yeah. Yeah.
Religious or otherwise, we're all human. You got to do the do sometimes.
Yeah. And even if you do it, sometimes you just got to, and it's
Yeah.
and
Here's something I want to talk about. This is a universal phenomenon for any guy that's on the internet. They're going to relate to this. This is the last 5 minutes of this conversation. You do the shucking of the corn, right? You shuck
the one-handed tango.
Yeah, exactly. You shuck watching the corn hubs, right? And then you get done. Don't you feel
you
bad?
feel like a piece of
You
shit
feel like a piece of shit.
because
Like,
like you know what that content is.
Yeah.
You know nobody enjoyed that.
Yeah,
You're
thank you. Like that was I'm
a piece of
selfish.
shit. Yeah.
I'm fucking selfish.
I'm contributing to the problem.
Yeah, like I
And
have the problem.
It lasts for about 15 minutes, and
Yeah.
and then you just go.
You're like, all right, I'm gonna go to bed now. Like,
yeah, like,
you know what I mean? Like, I guess I'll deal with myself morally in the morning, see if I feel better as a human being.
and even before I met my girlfriend, I strode away from that because it's so bad.
Like, yeah.
And after you are done, it's literally has a name. It's called post-nut clarity.
Yeah.
You feel like
better.
a monster.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm contributing to this problem.
Like,
and then you go down this rabbit hole of like, what if this porn star is like forced against her will? And then you're like, why am I doing this? But then your monkey brain's like, okay, get on with it.
exactly.
Do it again.
With life. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like-
or it's like here's one for all.
And again, I need people to understand that we are not making excuses. We are not making this
No.
okay. We're just talking about it.
like this is just a conversation about like the reality of it. Like this is just the reality. No way is this endorsing or condoning your behavior.
There's
You
another
fucking degenerate.
there's another podcast that I personally listen to. I'm not stealing their content. It's the Unsubscribed podcast. Everybody knows who they are.
Everybody.
Mr. Fat Electrician made a joke about how the only reason the puzzle piece is the symbol for autism is because I couldn't figure out what train to use. And one of the other guests commented back, well, it would have been the train from the Island of Misfit Toys with the square wheels. And as someone with autism, that's fucking hilarious.
like
And I just want to put that out there. That's funny.
yeah. Well, and I want to. That's something I want to talk on too. I mean, fuck it. Well, we got a couple more minutes before we shut this down. And maybe it's because y'all motherfuckers don't feel emotions and feel the same way about things. Oh, thank you, baby. I noticed that people with autism, they're not usually the ones that I hear bitching about jokes in the communities about.
No, we think it's fucking funny.
Thank you.
Because it is.
Like, thank you. Like, I don't really hear too much. It's usually people that are like friends with somebody that has autism.
Oh my
or
God.
love them.
It's usually
You
like
don't
people
talk about them like that.
It's literally people being offended for people that aren't offended.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are autism jokes that even I'm like, oh, that's fucked up. Like,
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
There's black jokes where I'm like, okay, that's probably actually
But,
racist.
If
like,
99% of the time, if you were looking at me and you were trying to make a wholehearted funny joke,
yeah,
and you actually would meant no harm or anything behind it, I'll think it's fucking hilarious.
that's what I'm saying.
Whenever, for example, the Unsubscribed said the thing with the train, I had to pause the podcast. I laughed for 10 fucking minutes every time I thought about it because it's true.
Yeah.
They're usually funny because they are true.
Stereotypes for a perfect.
Like literally, it's funny because it's true.
And that's, I don't know. That's hard to say. That's one that I think we'll probably have to touch on again in future
Yeah,
episodes.
totally. Like,
But that's insane to me. Like, because now the thing about it, yeah, motherfuckers with autism, I don't really hear y'all in the comment section on I have autism and this hurt the 5 feelings that I have.
exactly.
Like,
And not only that, but like for example, I do a couple other things
yeah,
in this community, and I'm one of the people where if something's wrong, I'm the first person to be like, okay, that's enough.
yeah,
We're
okay.
done. We're done with that.
The joke's a little far.
Or
Too
even hey, we need to reel this back in, or hey,
Yeah,
I
dial it
need
down.
you to either stop or leave, or
Mhm.
you know that we just the other day there's a podcast that you know just kind of
Yeah,
went shitty,
yeah.
and it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just kind of
Kind of went sideways. Yeah.
And I was
Ended up going into the.
I was
not going to post files.
I was the first person to be like, "Okay, we need to learn from this one."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is the start of something great, and as long as we can keep it educational, you know.
Yeah. Keep it a pertinent conversation.
To kind of wrap up your question, how is life different for me? Is it's in all sorts of ways, and it's ever evolving because sometimes things will happen. I'm like, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but as a general area, life isn't really different for me than it is in everybody else.
Yeah.
As then I still wake up in the morning, I still go to work, I still drive my car. But there are some things that just sometimes they just are a little bit slower for me, or they just don't make any sense to me, or you know, it's just a little bit different. You know, just because we're a little bit different doesn't mean we're bad people. We're just a little bit different, and I don't think you should judge people for that.
No, And as someone who's mixed, I mean, just on it, you just shouldn't judge people. It's
No.
just not worth it.
No.
But
And it's crazy because sometimes the autistic people you meet are some of the most kind-hearted, loving people you'll ever see in your life.
yeah,
And they're smart, dude.
that's something else that
They're smart in their own way, dude. It may not make sense to you, but sometimes people will just look at like something and
it's like a superpower. Yeah,
It's a superpower. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a disability. I think it's something that you should be proud of.
It's definitely something you can use to your advantage if you know how.
Totally, dude.
100%. Well, fuck, Jory, thank you for answering those questions, bro. Those are things that I was curious. I'm sure some other people that were out there that were curious will want to know about too.
Yeah.
But thank you. This is just some guys, your two hosts signing off. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you for stopping by.